Hey, good day to you, and good morning. It's Tuesday, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo Day. Our guest today is Tracie Storey. Tracie is a vibrational sound practitioner, a Qigong instructor. She hosts sound meditation classes and workshops worldwide. She is a conscious event producer and former international DJ. As a practitioner, her sessions are instinctively tuned to the individual client. As a teacher and workshop lead, her skills stretch beyond the treatment room to include immersive group sound harmonizations and meditation classes. Tracie, good morning and welcome to our discussion today. So good to have you.
Thank you, David. Good morning. Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
A pleasure. Just for our audience so they know, where are you?
So I am in a place called Gran Canaria, which is in the Canary Islands, which is off the coast of Morocco, actually. And yeah, it's under Spanish law, so it's under Spain. But I'm in a place, in the very southern part of Gran Canaria. I'm just here for the quarantine. And luckily having some sunshine, and I'm actually on a boat, so you might see that I'm on in a marina here, and I'm very happy to say that I'm on a boat that's called Grateful. So it's a boat called Grateful that is traveling around in the Mediterranean, and various people come off and on the boat to experience life at sea and to experience what it's like to be on the ocean. So I'm very grateful to be here.
I bet. Just real quick, how did you manifest that?
Well, how did I manifest that? It was very interesting because I was actually in Greece last summer, and I was looking at these boats and I was going, how do they do that? Like, who are these people on these boats? Like, where are they going and what are they doing? And I was like, that would be cool. I'd like to do that. And I mean, it was literally like those thoughts going, how do they do that? And then I met up with a friend of mine who lives on the island part-time. He's British as well, but he has a place there. So the next day I met up with him, and he introduced me to some friends, and one of those friends had this boat, and then I found myself sailing on the boat, and then I found out more about the ethos of what this boat's all about and what it does, and I thought, oh, that sounds cool. So I actually jumped on in December and took the voyage from Ibiza through, it was about 2,500 miles down the southern coast of Spain, through the Gibraltar Straits, down to Morocco, and then over to the Canary Islands. So that was a new experience for me, experiencing life on the water, and just it really is like being in meditation quite time. There's rough days and there's crazy winds and storms as well, but there's also moments of total stillness and peace, and there's no phones or computers, and you're literally with Mother Ocean, with the sky, with the fish, with the dolphins if they come, and it's really life-changing. So I wanted that experience.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So yeah, you can be really at peace, and the oceans and the waters are still, and then the next day you could have winds and storms, and all that can break loose.
Exactly.
So we have a pretty multifaceted chat today, and we were talking before we started to record today's session about what how you're experiencing this, and one thing I've observed during this time of self-isolation is that time seems to have gone faster. The day goes by really fast. What's your take on that? Are you noticing that too?
Yes, I think what's happening is we are with ourselves. We're not jumping in the car, we're not jumping on the train or on the bus, and therefore we're with ourselves 24/7 and with our families or children or whoever we're spending this time with. And what's happening is, and for some of us, we're being allowed to be more creative. So we're having extra time to be creative, or certainly to explore some of our passions. It might be more reading, it might be studying, it might be researching something. So therefore we're spending that time doing something perhaps that we want to do but only have a restricted time to do that. So basically it means that the day kind of speeds up and we're like, oh, where did all the time go? Where did the time go? And we're obviously cooking as well.
Yeah.
Dinner. Sometimes when we're out and about, we might be grabbing lunch. We might be having dinner at a friend's house, but we're having to cook for ourselves all the time. So there's more packed in a day, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons, on a practical note.
Yes, because I've noticed that, you know, and the sense we're talking about time and just, you know, purpose and also your work. So for those just tuning in today, you know, some say time is an illusion, and some say that when we really step back and look at time, none of us know maybe when our time is up. And I don't mean to be morbid, but sometimes you have to look at your life and master this notion of death, death before death. Eckhart Tolle actually suggests that we need to master the notion of death before our death. So how, in your opinion, do we do that? You know, Eckhart Tolle has spoken and talked about this and written about this. How do we master the sort of the end of time for ourselves and do it in a powerful way and live powerfully too while we're here?
Yeah, it's a great question. Very powerful, potent idea. That actually, if you look at the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I read that when I was about 18, I think. They basically spend their whole waking life preparing for this point of death, preparing for this point of transition, of transmutation, let's say. Because do we really die? Yes, our bodies die, our physical, our bones, our flesh depletes, but if we're thinking of our soul continuing, then it just transforms into a different space-time continuum. So they believed that everything we do in our everyday contributes to what happens at the end. So in regards to what you're saying, I really do believe that, yeah, that's how we contribute to this end point. If we are aware and conscious of how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, what we spend our time doing, the foods we eat, the liquids that we drink, that everything that we consume and give out contributes to this end point, because it affects what we're doing in the here and now. So who else talks about this? There's the White Brotherhood. His name is oh gosh, it escapes me now. It'll come back to me, but he talks about everything that we consume as well is part of this temple that we are inhabiting in our everyday life. So I think that's how we become really aware of our contribution to the world, of what we give out. If we think of ourselves in terms of frequency, every word we speak, every action we take, what we give out into the world has a vibration and a frequency to it. And in so much as how we receive our friends, how we speak with our colleagues, the books that we're reading, that we really want to make sure that everything we're doing is kind of in tune and in alignment with our true being. You know, we know really what makes us joyful, what makes us happy. We know what makes us sad and frustrated. So it's a case of, through our life on the planet, to reduce the things that don't make us happy, eliminate the things that cause us to feel frustrated. Obviously, there's a certain amount of things in life we can't control, but the things that we can control, to be able to really monitor that and be truthful with ourselves as to what makes sense to us and what is not in alignment with ourselves.
Mm. It's so nicely put too, you know, and I like how you equate it to the work you do with vibration and that we are all vibration. And I'm going to get to that soon, a little bit more about your work. But to me, there seems to be a bit of adrenaline happening on some days just to get things done. And yet I don't know about you, but there's this other side to me going, hey, what's the rush? Just relax, have a nap, you know? Those in your inner circle, are they sharing that kind of sentiment too right now, Tracie?
It's very there's definitely two modes of being. I have friends who are professionals working in, say, the world of yoga, the world of the breath world, and they are spending a lot of time online giving sessions, group sessions, single sessions. There is definitely this kind of like an anxiety and a yeah, a feeling of unrest. So people are looking for tools. So therefore, my friends who are in a privileged position to be able to offer those tools are very much doing so. So they're working really busy, actually, very busy. You know, they're like maybe busier than they already were. But they're also transforming the way that they're offering things, as we all are, because we're spending so much time online. And then there's the other school of thought where it's, what can we do right now? This is a time to go inwards. This is a time to connect in with our inner self and feel what's going on. Because if you do believe that we are going through a transformation, if you do believe that we're going through some kind of worldwide new paradigm, birthing a new vision, then that takes a little bit of time to reevaluate and reflect. So I actually think that it's really important to take that step back and have a nap, as you say.
Yeah.
Meditate, just tune in, because we really all of us, every single one of us, has a part to play in this.
Yeah.
And I think once we realize that, instead of thinking everything's outside of our control with the powers that be, you know, the big guys making all the decisions, then we may feel helpless, but actually we all have a part to play in this.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in a bit of an incubator or gestation phase, you know, and we are birthing, I think, something new, which can be exciting, but it's also like, you know, if you're expecting your first child, for example, there's excitement, but then there's also a little bit of nervous energy about it, you know, that everything will go well. And what's it going to be, a boy or a girl, you know, all of that comes to it. You know,
Yeah.
when the world seems chaotic as it does now, and we want to maybe take this time to birth something new, or live our purpose, or manifest a goal or a dream, it seems almost harder to make it happen. Is now still a good time to go within, dream, set new goals, and launch new life affirming ideas? What's your take?
Yeah, it's there's a certain amount of time that we need to be reflecting, I believe. Reflection, reassessment, reviewing what's working in my life, what isn't working in my life. This has kind of put everything into the front seat, whether you like it or not. It's like brought everything up to look at right in front of your eyes. And it's like, oh, I was kind of wanting to look at that later, or maybe next year. I'll just put that over there for a little bit. And it's like, well, no, sorry, but everything's kind of like, the pressure's kind of on, which is why it's important to just take your time, to not feel like too pressured to make all these changes now. You know, there is so much uncertainty hanging around that we can't really manifest all of our dreams, or put all the new things into action right now, because we do have to wait. So I think it's a case of taking like steps, one step at a time, and to still connect in and see, is that dream I had before last year the same one that I have now? You know, is that hope of, you know, you wanted to go for this new position in a new job or something, is that really where I want to go? It's kind of like allowing us to really fine tune what our needs, our hopes and our dreams are. And for a lot of people, I think they're realizing that some of those things have changed, shifted. They're not the same as before. So it's really good to reevaluate that and really be making sure that you are moving in the direction that that you thought you wanted to be moving in.
How do we know when we're aligned? You know, when the goals and the dreams, you know, make sense and feel right. How do we know we're in alignment?
I would say one way. There's probably a few different ways to answer that question, and one way is to go into the deeper sense of yourself. And what do I mean by that? I mean going down in, like, we live most of the time up here in our heads. If you were to kind of like take a pie chart of your day and to like plot out where you spend most of your time, in say in the body, like you might go, oh yeah, I do exercise in the morning for like 20 minutes or an hour, maybe an hour and a half if you're an avid practitioner of something. But most of the time we're up here, we're thinking, we're analyzing, we're writing, we're reading. So what I would say is to kind of go into a deeper part of yourself. And this is what the ancient Daoists call the Dantian, the second chakra. It's just kind of like just below your belly button. This is like what's often referred to as like a battery pack. And it's where you hold your chi. Now, if we can kind of go into that space, this is a huge mechanism for showing us whether we're in comfort with something and whether we're in discomfort with something. So I would say, if we were needing to look at alignment, kind of feel into that part of the body and really feel what's going on in this part of the body. Am I feeling upset? Am I feeling unnerved by this conversation, this topic, this idea? And just kind of it takes a little bit of kind of time to kind of work on this sensing of self, but it's a way of being in tune with your own body and working with that receptor that is not based in the mind and the thinking. You know, and another one is in the heart. You know, how does your heart feel about that? Again, that might be easier for some people than others. So it's good to have a few modes that we can play with here to see if we feel in alignment.
What would that practice look like?
What would that practice look like? Well, for one thing, I'd always start with doing some breathing. You know, you put your hands on your belly and start with firstly just going there into the belly. Like, so what's a belly breath? If you breathe with your belly, what happens is the belly expands on the inhalation and deflates on the exhalation. So if you imagine a balloon, if you were blowing air into a balloon, it expands a little bit, and if you take that air away, it just deflates a little bit. So going into that space, you can just put your hands on your belly, and when you breathe in, allow the belly to expand. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. But what's happening there is you're putting awareness in that part of your body. So you're tuning yourself. Where you put awareness is where kind of energy is flowing more. So I would say that that's a really good thing to do, and then that gets you in touch with your body a little bit more, and your, you know, what can often be referred to as the second brain. So it's a way, it's your, you know, some people might call it gut instincts. It's just just being in tune with that rather than trying to monitor everything with this, which is what most of us do.
Because this is going a mile a minute. Out thinking, overthinking, doing, having, going, being,
Exactly.
controlling. So what I'm hearing you also say is that, take away that sense of urgency and slow it down, slow your body down, slow yourself right down, and set goals maybe, or dreams that are more longer lasting and more manageable and able to take shape. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely, yeah, because especially now with all the news, with everything that's going on, this is going even more 10 to the dozen because we're getting bombarded with all this information. So this is even more of the moment to just take a step back, just like take your foot off the gas a little bit and, sit back and be like almost because what happens when you start doing the breathing with the belly, just that slow inhalation and exhalation, what you're doing is you're getting in touch with what's called the parasympathetic, and you're kind of sending the message to yourself of safety, of security, of it's okay. It's the opposite of being in that fight or flight mode where you're in panic and you're like, like what's going to happen? Where's this going? How are we going to deal with the future? It's just like take a step back, go into the breath, then that gives you a little bit of spaciousness. It gives you space rather than this kind of fraught fear or anxiety of the overthinking and worrying about things.
Right. And could you make a nice analogy about how to steer the boat in stormy weather compared to calm weather? Like, is there an analogy to be made there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Alan Watts has a great quote on this. It's something about change, that it's best to just kind of like, get with the dance, like go with it. Like you cannot control the storm. You cannot control like the weather. So it's kind of like if you're in it and it's coming, just kind of roll with it. Yeah, it might be a little bit like, fraught at times. It might go, sideways. You might get pummeled by a big, a wave coming in, like soaking you. Just go with it. There is benefits to riding it out. Things can't go on forever. There's always going to be a change of something. So ride it out, and you'll come out the other side. You might be a little bit wet, and your hair might be all over the place. But
I know I have that problem. Now, so we're going to bump against resistance and maybe no response. And one thing I'm also noticing, Tracie, is that so many of us are in a different mental and emotional state right now, and can only assimilate so much in terms of information, new ideas, and maybe that goal, dream, or life purpose that we wanted to see have happen might just become a bit of a gutter ball. I'm using a bowling analogy where, we have good form, we take our best shot, but boy, it just goes right down that gutter and into oblivion. And you don't even hit the pin. Do you want to maybe speak to that a little bit? Like, pushing something or wanting to birth something new, but because it's so chaotic right now in terms of where people are at, they can only receive so much of what you want to, be, do, and have.
Yeah, as you started speaking analogy, it made me think of the ancient Daoists, again, movement of qi, this kind of like pushing and retracting, again, like the breath, kind of like pushing and retracting. And it's kind of like that, like the ocean does that. It's coming, and then they go out, out. What has that got to do with anything? Well, it's kind of about knowing when to move forward and when to step back. And if everything's congested and there's lots of stuff going on, then that's time to just take a step back. And it's like, if everything is trying to get through one space at one particular time, then there's going to be problems. So, you know, this is the time to just be in acceptance. Like 2020 is not turning out like how any of us imagined it to be.
Not at all.
It's like, it's just, okay, 2020, we kind of had, you know, the astrologers, if you follow astrology, you know, they kind of warned that there was going to be some mighty giants kind of like holding court up in the celestial skies, let's say, and there was going to be pressure, there was going to be intensity, there was going to be some serious business happening, yeah, which is definitely what has happened.
Yeah.
And it's out of our control. The best thing we can do is just to try to be in acceptance of what it is, and be patient with ourselves, and be kind and with each other, and, you know, we'll weather this storm. Some people unfortunately will have, you know, kind of been lost over the side, but there's still a good majority of us that are still on the, you know, on the boat, and we're still weathering the storm, and we'll find our way through, you know.
Yeah, we will, for sure. Goals versus life purpose, what do you prefer more, and why?
I would say life purpose. The reason being is because that feels a little bit more intrinsically linked to your kind of like innate wisdom, your soul. It feels more like it's kind of more in tune with who are you, and what are you about? What is your purpose for being here as a soul? Are you here to do sport? Are you here to do gardening? Are you here to write a book? Are you here to be a teacher? Whereas goals feels like it's more to do with setting goals. You know, it feels a little bit more heady than life purpose. Yeah.
And life
not that there's anything wrong with having goals. You know?
No, I think you need to have that. But yeah, to me, like, life purpose is more about your beingness, or a goal is more about your doingness.
Yeah. So exactly.
I want to go back to this notion of maybe of just being. And one action, you know, my colleagues and myself are doing more of is integrating more meditation time. As a vibrational sound healer, meditation teacher, how can incorporating more meditation time into our day-to-day lives? And by the way, as we started about managing time and noticing that there's not enough time in the day, my meditation time is ramped up to about an hour a day, which is, there's an hour gone, right? But how can incorporating more meditation time in our day-to-day lives help us to maybe slow it down, heal, and perhaps bring more clarity into sort of the what's next for us?
I would say, you know, what's interesting is meditation is different for everyone. You know, there's many different forms of meditation, and certainly some people don't need any tools. They can just sit quietly on their own and meditate. Other people need to hear sounds, or they need to hear have a mantra going, or some kind of like system that they're working with. Again, it depends on you. It depends on what you resonate with. I would say what's really key about it is it creates space. So it's creating space, and therefore that's helping you be more productive with your day. It's a practice that is going to contribute to the health of your day. So I would say that, like, when we meditate and we create that space in ourselves in the morning, or hopefully you do it in the morning when you start the day, it means that we're just a little bit more in tune with our day. And instead of being scattered, or instead of being spending time not sure what we're supposed to do, we have this alignment that happens that brings us into a space where we can go, okay, these are my tasks for the day, this is like what I would like to achieve. So it kind of fine-tunes everything a little bit more because of creating that space.
Right. And it also helps you to relax and have a more calm approach, which is really needed right now, right? We need, we don't need, irrational, fear-based thinking. It's not going to help.
Yeah, it's a vibration as well. That if you have that feeling of calm in the morning, then that sets the tone for the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about vibration, you were a DJ. How did you go from that kind of work, which is, it's really about beats and sound and moving people through music, into, sound vibrational hearing? How did you make that transition?
Yeah, well, in a way, the DJing was sound and movement. So I've been working with sound and movement for 22 years now. But there was a point in my career where I was in Jakarta and I was DJing, and it was a big event. There was thousands of people there, and I remember having this moment where I thought, wow, what would happen if you just turn the sound off for a moment? And what would it look like? All these people all moving and everybody kind of like listening to the same rhythm. And I just realized how potent and powerful sound is. And I thought I must learn more about this. How does sound affect us? What's happening to us on a cellular level, on a vibrational level? And then I started to uncover the teachings of Peter Goldman and Fabienne Maman, and started to learn about the integral aspects of sound and vibration and how to work with this with the body. And it's been a fascinating journey, and I knew that I wanted to just find out more about how to work with it so it can be beneficial to people, in not just an entertaining way. You know?
So what benefits do you see in the clients that you work with when it comes to sound and vibrational healing? What benefits?
Well, I would, when you asked me a little bit earlier on about alignment, that it totally comes down to that. Because if you think of yourself as an instrument, say you're a guitar, before you play the guitar, a guitarist will always make sure it's in tune. They'll tune it up, they will make a little few tweaks, and then they'll play their song. They wouldn't really play the song without tuning the guitar, because if it's out of tune, it sounds good. And with exactly the same thing with working vibrational sound, you're able to help bring people back to their innate sound, their integral. So how does that happen? Well, it basically comes down to the physical aspects of working with their meridians. So in Chinese medicine, you've got the 5 elements: fire, earth, air, water, and wood, which all work with the organs. So the heart and the small intestine, the stomach and the spleen, the gallbladder and the liver. So on a first base, you start looking at somebody's the energetics of their organs, which ones are dominant, which ones are weaker. And it starts to work on a vibrational setting and starting to see what needs to kind of be sedated a little bit if it's dominating, and what's weak, we bring that up a little bit. And each of the organs has a different note. So that's one way that the vibrational sound, using these tuning forks, help to balance the body back into a more harmonic state.
Wow.
So and then the person just feels a little bit more aligned, and they go, oh, I feel better. And then we may do some meditation, and then we may do some working with the energy centers. So it just depends. Everybody needs different things or would like different things. But it's essentially about bringing people back to that.
I remember Wayne Dyer teaching that God is just a vibration. It's a sound. It's The sound of Om, when we meditate and we go, Om, that's the sound of God. That's the vibration of God. What's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, if we believe that God is within us,
Right.
are we all children of God?
Yeah.
We all certainly came from that spark of light.
Right.
So if we all came from that spark of light, then we all must contain that spark within us. So I would say that for me, certainly sound is a very potent tool. And it's what allows us to, when we work with sound in a group, what happens is we all go into a coherence, we go into resonance, because the sound is something that kind of brings us all together in a vibrational way. So some people may say the sound of Om, or they may use another sound, depending on the modality. So I think if you know which sounds to use, then that helps us to come back to our own personal natural resonance.
Yes.
And if that allows us to feel more connected, more aligned, more maybe connected to higher source as well, then you could say yes, that sound is the sound of God. Mm-hmm. Find out what your sound of God is.
It's funny, I did do some food shopping yesterday, and I go to a store where they play music from the 70s. And I like the music, because it's like, oh yeah, I like that song, or I remember that song. And it puts me in a better mood. Is that, maybe one of the other effects of vibrational healing, that it does alter our mood and improves our mood?
Definitely. And that again comes back to our own natural resonance. Like some people like 70s music, some people like country and western, some people like classical music. Again, it's knowing what you resonate with, and that if that works for you, then that's perfect. You can't expect everyone to be into like classical music or into 70s music, but it resonates. Why does it resonate? Because we just feel it can be cool. It can be the key that the song in. So again, think of yourself as an instrument. What note are you? And that's why you feel drawn to certain sounds, certain colors, certain people. It's that if you think of it in vibrational terms, that's why we get on with certain people really well, and other people were like, oh, not really. There's been a dissonance there.
Yeah.
They're just different to your note.
So good time
in simplicity.
Go, take note of this, and maybe just observe, step back and observe that, are we on the same wavelength, vibrationally? And that might be why, like relationships do kind of come and go, especially right now. I'm hearing a lot of that relationships are coming and going right about now. Because here we are, we're isolated with each other, and then it's like, maybe not. Maybe what we had before, in our busy day-to-day lives was fine. But now that we're together this much, maybe the alignment isn't what it was. And I was joking with a friend the other day. I said, yeah, maybe I should become a divorce lawyer after this is all said and done. So, because you're quite busy. But what's your take on that?
Well, the thing is, some people are not used to spending 24/7 with their partners and with their families. It's quite unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time there's other things going on. You go and spend time with friends. So I think even people who are like have a good relationship, it's putting pressure on people. People are, and they're not able to do what they want to do. So it's a shame that if people are gonna have to go their separate ways after this. But also I would say not to make too many quick decisions, because these are unusual circumstances. On the flip side of that, some people are getting on really well because they're like, oh, we never get time to spend together as a family because someone's always at work or having lots of meetings. So But yeah, it's trying, it's definitely testing people. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. There are some moments, where we do just need to stop and be silent and still and listen to our voice inside, and maybe even, have a sound vibrational healing session. My question to you is, we're hearing a lot of, talk about vaccinations and how we're going to heal cure the virus and everything. What if, in your heart of hearts, do you think that if we had a moment, like collectively, globally, where we did en masse a sound vibrational healing for a good hour session, I'm wondering, like, what could transpire, and could that potentially heal people on the planet right now? Just curious as to what your take is. Like, if you were to wear your vision hat,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an amazing idea to do, and I think it's an amazing to get people to come together, across the globe at one particular time. I know this happened. There was a big global meditation, and do you remember 2012 with the end of the Mayan calendar? And there was a huge kind of convergence of people meditating all together. When everyone is focused on one vision, one prayer, whether it's global peace, whether it's healing of the planet, it's super powerful, because when you come together, just with one person, it creates like the Vesica Pisces. Do you know the Vesica Pisces? It's like a third thing is created by those two people coming together. So you add more and more people into that, and then it's going to raise the vibration of a lot of people together doing this shared vision, shared intention. And that, if you think of it in terms of the message, the vibration and the message that's sending out into the world, it's definitely going to help to just feel like you're part of something. Whether it can like heal everyone is, well, it depends on how many people, and it depends on the kind of depth of people's intentions. But it's certainly a positive, good thing to do, to spread joy and love and happiness and peacefulness.
and we can all use that right about now, right?
Exactly.
Now, talking about joy and healing and peacefulness, we are hearing a lot about the medical community and big pharma right now. When do you think the medical community might be more open to incorporating sound healing and even light healing as ways to heal whatever pandemic we might experience, whatever illness, whatever it is we need to heal? When do you see a day when the medical community might be a bit more open to this? And is it, do you think it's anytime soon at all?
I would love to be able to put a date on that. I mean, in some senses, the medical community is already using, sound in regards to, the fact people go for ultrasounds. There is already sound being used in hospitals, but in the sense that you're talking about, what's been interesting is the UK Prime Minister came down with coronavirus.
Yeah.
He was admitted to hospital. Boris Johnson, he ended up going into the intensive care unit. If he hadn't received such good treatments, he probably wouldn't be here. But he had excellent treatment. When he came out, he made an announcement to the the nation, and he used that in his announcement. He used the word love. And it was like, did he just say that? Did Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, just say love? And he was giving thanks to the National Health Service in the UK. A few days after, the Queen also did a big speech. She never does that, only when it's Christmas. I think the last time she did a speech in this kind of like environment was back in, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70 years ago. She used the word meditation.
Wow.
The Queen used the word meditation. Now again, it's like, wow, okay, so Boris is saying love, the Queen's saying meditation. This is good news. these are key figures, whether you like them or not. They're key figures in our society. They are using what we would deem as more.
Whoop, we just lost the connection. I think you were going to say we deeming more non-traditional medicine as a way to heal. You know what I'm going to do? I think
that maybe we do need to be more, more conscious with our words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that? Because we lost connection there. We lost your.
Oh, sorry. What I was saying was that call it consciousness, call it spirituality, call it being more aligned, more connected. What I realized with those two announcements was that people are becoming more aware of that maybe there is something more than how we were living before. Maybe it's time to step up and become more conscious with what's going on. So that gave me some hope.
Yeah, I love that. Am I okay to share a song of yours that's on YouTube? So we can experience you for a couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap up and find out where we get a hold of you. And then also on your website, you have a meditation that people can download. So that's really kind of sweet, right? So here I'm going to share that. Here it is. So free inner universe meditation. So you just sign up, and let's hear a little bit of your music, and maybe it'll relax us today for those watching. So I've got queued up Elemental Resonance, and here it goes. It's called Raw Gold. It's nice. I heard this morning. It calmed me down. And you did all this, right? All the production, and right? Well, we just lost connection, but let's give this a listen. You did all this?
I did. This this meditation album, I created it for the energy centers. So, or you could call them the chakras.
So nice just to close your eyes and do this at home, right?
Yeah, and this is the instrumental version that you're playing, which is great. And there's also another version, the same track, but with affirmations. So if you want to speak the affirmations, if that resonates with you, you can do that too.
Yeah. Beautiful. Your own affirmations too as you're relaxing to this, right? Gorgeous. I'm gonna just limit the sound a bit for now. What's the process of creating something like this, Tracie? Like, what's that like? How do you come up with that sound? And
Well, that one, it's interesting that you chose that one, because that's the one that appeals to the second chakra, the Dantian, which is what I was talking about at the beginning. And the Dantian's connected to the water element. So that's why you hear that water in there. And when I did my training with Fabienne Maman, we learned about how different sounds resonate with different parts of the body. So that each track has got the sounds that resonate with that particular area. So you heard what was called a kalimba in there, little kind of twinkly kind of metal sound. Now, when I do my group sound harmonizations, I have all the instruments there with me. So I play them in the room, and you get the resonance of the actual sound coming directly from within the room. So I was trying to recreate the sounds that I use, and they're acoustic sounds. So these aren't created with a synthesizer or an electronic machine. Obviously I had to use electronic machines and computers and everything to put it all together, but I recorded a lot of the instruments that I use in the group sound harmonizations, and then I worked with my friend Patrick, and we put them all together and created the album. So yeah, I was really pleased to get that out last year. I've been wanting to do it for a good 1.5 years. It took a little bit of time, but now it's out, and hopefully it's going to help create this soundscape for people to relax and just feel a bit more connected, because it's got lots of natural sounds in there that do resonate with different parts of the body.
you are living your purpose. You're a clear example.
Yeah, doing my best.
Under these circumstances. So into the future, what would you like to see happen in your work and in the next year? Because we will move through this. So what would you like?
Well, I see my job as a facilitator. So my job is just to facilitate people who are looking and ready to work with themselves, on themselves, to come back to their center. So all these tools, whether it's meditation, whether it's toning, whether it's qigong, whether it's sound vibration, these are all tools to help you remember who you are and come back into your own innate wisdom. I'm very much about not looking outside, trying to be somebody that you're not, trying to be somebody that someone's telling you to be. It's just be you. That's all we need to do. If all of us can just be who we are, and be as content as we can and happy. And yes, we've all got insecurities, or we've got scars, we've got wounds, some of us have got terrible traumas. I'm not saying that everyone's perfect, but it's like, if we can just do what we can to find out the roots of who we are beneath all the trauma and beneath all the pain, to come back to that natural state of being, then we're giving off a good vibration. And then that's what I would like to help facilitate in the future. Well, I'm just doing it now, but also see more in the future, that everyone just comes back to themselves using whatever tools that work for them.
I'm on board.
Great. Yay.
That's a gorgeous way to sort of enter our chat and interview on. I really appreciate this. It's just huge for saying yes right away. And I'm so glad I got to meet you. And again, we reach you just through your website, right? Is there anything else that we should know? Or
yeah,
is that
website is good. I also have the qigong course that I've now put online, the Higher Vibrational Being course. And there's a link on my website if people want to join for that. Yeah. That's online now. And then I'm on Instagram as Elemental Resonance.
Okay.
And I have got some videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So you just type into YouTube. It's on the bottom of my website, actually. You should be able to see.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There's the YouTube button, Instagram.
There you go. Yeah.
You're everywhere.
And yeah, that's how everyone's rolling, isn't it?
Yeah.
it takes a bit of time. So, and I'm hoping to start doing live Zooms. I do a meditation there's one tonight actually. I've got one tonight. It's called Inner Vision Mondays. So that's every month I do it. It's usually at the start of the month. Actually, you've reminded me I should put those on my website. So Inner Vision Mondays every month. And I'm hoping to do live Zooms, question and answer, so I can meet with people like once a month, and we can do meditation online and just have a kind of closed group for that. So that's my I've started a Patreon where people can do that as well. So I'm just at the beginning stages.
Yeah, here too. I started a Patreon account for these podcasts, so it takes time. Tracie, thank you so much. She is on a boat by the water, and so our connection comes and goes a little bit. Before we close, just a couple of announcements. We're back on Friday with David Corey from Calgary, and we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. Tracie, we lost a little bit of connection. I just want to thank you so much for this. This is great. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
My pleasure.
Great to meet you. And if any of your people have got any questions or they want to know more, just drop me a line. I'd be more than happy to help or advise.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And to those watching, remember, you need a little feel good, a little inspiration, a little something different from what you're consuming on the news. Tune in here and let people know. This is the Good Morning Show for Tuesday, May the 5th. Have a really good week, and we'll see you on Friday.